In late June, 70 researchers and farmers took part in a WA Livestock Research Council by invitation study tour to the UWA Research Farm in West Pingelly. On site, they were treated to a broad range of presentations that provided an insight into the extent of projects underway and the degree of collaboration between WA's livestock research community. The final morning presentation in the shearing shed is from DPIRD's Meredith Guthrie, and she's joined by Kevin Foster. They tell us all about Sheeplinks, FutureSheep, an exciting new DPIRD-MLA funded project.
This is a dual partnership between MLA and DPIRD. It's a 3-year project. It's a 1-year-old at the moment. And it's basically, FutureSheep's role or project is to look at the projected climate changes that we're going to be experiencing in 2030 and 2050, and how's that going to affect your industry, both animal production and pastures. And my role is to stand here and hold these maps. You may have seen these tweets that Meredith puts out every week. And there's a lot of purple in her maps, so I think she's a DOCA supporter, definitely. And Meredith's just going to run you through the projected climates that's going to happen for 2030 and 2050. Yep. I'll hold these and we'll swap.
All right, firstly, thank you for the invitation. I sit behind a computer mostly, so it's great to come out. And secondly, I'm glad I'm not a sheep because I'm actually a twin, and I've had twins, so there's probably a high chance that I would have been culled somewhere along the line. So with future climate projections, the projections are only good as the model. So I use the Climate Services for Agriculture website, which is jointly authored by CSIRO and the Bureau of Meteorology, which is funded by the Future Drought Fund. So what happens from that model, I look at it as a website and get lots and lots of numbers and I map them. So this is what the number of days above 32 in August to November. Obviously, if you get hot days at grain filling, you're going to have an effect of your grain. Obviously, you're going to get hot days, you're going to get more heat stress in your sheep. So we know in the past we've had relatively few hot days above 32, mostly in the north, and we know that since the mid-1970s we've actually had a climate change here in the southwest, and since 2000 again, you're actually getting a more number of days. And as you go through, this is under greenhouse gas emissions, RCP value of 4.5, so medium greenhouse gas emissions, and this is the extreme case, 8.5. So that's if the government decides not to do anything about it, and this is if we actually have some chances to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. So it doesn't matter with the number of medium or high, it's all going to get a bit warmer. And if you're up north, I haven't been invited up north yet, but if you're up north, you're going to have a lot more days above 32, which is obviously going to affect yield and obviously your sheep. So if we go to the next map, thank you. So this is rainfall. So this is April to October. So this you can see, the lovely purple down here. This is 1961 and 1990, and you can see that purple is actually decided to vanish from the map. So we're already seeing a bit of drying already, and this red is coming in. So this is less than 200 millimetres of growing season rain. And you can see if we get down to 2050, 8.5, we're in trouble. So that's just what the future projections, obviously it's only a model, but some models are actually saying that you might get more rainfall, but I've just taken the mean of the models. All the models are saying you're going to get more heat, so they're all in agreement there. And in considering November to March, we've got some other maps looking at November to March, and they're sort of saying that it's sort of very similar. It's not going to get wetter summers, which some people have found. Obviously, these are only average maps. You might get a year like this year, which is brilliant, and last year, which was brilliant, but overall trend is going to be drier and warmer. But you've already experienced that now anyway, and I think there's going to be lots of things happening that can adapt, so help you to grow and continue farming. Thank you.
I've just got an observation looking at your climate maps, and we're on the south coast. We're primarily cattle farmers, but we do have a sheep enterprise, and we're getting warmer winters now, and we're finding we're getting barber's pole 12 months of the year. It's become a real problem keeping on top of barber's pole, and the fly strike window is nearly 12 months of the year, certainly 10 months now. So these are a new, while we're getting much better pasture growth in winter because it's warmer, these are problems that are affecting our sheep enterprise that we didn't anticipate.
Yeah, I guess my question is an extension of the previous one. Have you actually, by the look of the previous one I think you put up, it looked like there would be quite a bit of variation between the south coast, or the impact on the south coast and the impact out at, say, Merredith. I was wondering if A, you've broken that down, and B, the implications for the different zones are quite different, as articulated by the fly strike problem window now becoming 8 months of the year, or out there, the incidence of temperature above 32, that has a major impact on canola flowering. So have people actually sat down and have you had a chance to discuss your modelling with them or with wider industry and discuss some of those issues?
I might get Ben to answer that question.
Hi guys, Ben Bidoff, DPIRD. There has been modelling going on probably since the mid-90s and early 2000s about the impact of climate change on phenology and different crop species. The breeders are certainly aware of that. Over the last 20 years, essentially, we've got data which shows we essentially, from the same planting date, your wheat will flower 2 weeks earlier now than what it used to 20 years ago. And obviously those projections will continue as we increase that basal temperature. Crops will develop and mature quicker. So we actually need to breed and develop longer season varieties to actually make sure we can make full use of that growing season rainfall. While I've got the microphone, Meredith, I did have a question with you around the impact on rainfall versus temperature. So, you know, the RCP 4.5 versus 8.5 looks like it has a much larger impact on rainfall than it does on the actual heat extremes. And just any comments about that, on what's driving that in the underlying models?
Great question. I think because all the models are in agreement with temperature is going to increase no matter what. There's huge variation in the models in terms of rainfall, so maybe that's why there's difference.
I'm just wondering about humidity. It might not be, I don't know if it's important for plant growth, but for animals, you know, if it's high temperature and high humidity, it makes it a lot worse. Does the humidity tend to correlate with changes in rainfall? So is humidity going to be lower?
I'm not sure about humidity. The model I look at only gives me rainfall and temperature. Department of Water, Kelly Barnes is looking at downscaling model for the southwest, so I'll ask her. I've got evapotranspiration data, so I might be able to get some future humidity. I'll ask for you. Thanks.
I feel a bit bad asking a question, but I do have one. Minimum winter temperature is something we've seen tracking above average for a little while, and the implications on pasture growth. Are we going to be able to model pasture growth and crop growth on changes in minimum temperature to understand what it'll affect for sheep production?
So the F question about frost. Okay. Minimum temperatures. Well, probably yes. So the project Kevin and I are working on, we're going to be looking at grass grow, which is a pasture model with Paul Sanford. And so, yes, we'll probably be looking at that. So I've got minimum temperature data from a different model, not this one. And so we'll be able to answer that one for you, Mandy. But if there's any frost questions, I know it's a bit silly how you say temperature's getting increased, but actually there might be signs that frost might be getting more occurrence. Because, yes.
And just to answer that question again, we are definitely looking at... Where'd that come from? We are definitely looking at the impact of warmer temperatures on pasture growth. Paul Sanford and also our colleagues in the east are doing the same thing.